That's a flag. Scotty O, we're back here on Excessive Celebration. Billy Bell alongside on Crossover Sports. And it's time. The moment everybody has been waiting for. Origami's in session. Hey!
Yay!
Hey, it's OU Texas week. How do you not get excited?
Look what I made. A triangle. Second Saturday in October, Bill. Dallas, Texas. State Fair Park. Cotton Bowl. What happens? Craziness. Records, do they matter?
It never seemed like it before.
Not in the outcome of the game, but they matter pretty much this time around because the last couple of years, you've looked at a couple of, at least top 12 talent out there. So this game's back to mattering again, which makes it fun. Say what you want to, but all's right with the world when all kind of decisions or, let's say, outcomes begin to look more clear after this game's played.
Yeah, I mean, outside of what, maybe Baylor making a run at this, you're probably looking at playing each other twice again.
Oh, I think the odds are pretty high with that.
The odds are forever in their favor.
Yeah, not to say that it couldn't happen, but, I don't think anybody thought last year after the way that game ended with Dicker the kicker winning it that they weren't going to meet again. I think it was something that most people saw. Bill, we obviously when we're talking about our free picks, we are careful when it comes to promoting certain type things, but I have a hard time not addressing a 10-point spread. Oklahoma favored by 10 points. When I first heard that, I thought, man, if I was a betting man, it would be hard for me not to load up on Texas.
Yeah.
But then you start wondering, is that the knee-jerk reaction and response that the bookies are looking for on something like that? Or am I just old enough to have seen that nothing matters, point spreads don't matter, this game could be tight like last year, one of them could win by 35? It's very difficult for me, upon second thought, to be critical of wherever the point spread is.
Yeah.
I don't know that you can. I think this game, it comes down to a feel. How does it feel? And a lot of times the people that I work with down in Cleveland County, this game scares them to death because it's one of the few times where I don't think, if you're an Oklahoma fan or a Texas fan, you walk in there feeling good about it.
What do you think? I was going to say, I think you can make a case if OU would have played somebody a little tougher, we thought they were going to get that challenge with Houston, and Houston just didn't pan out. But if somebody has tested their defense before playing Texas, then you can make the case for it, for the point, you said 10, for being that high. I would actually bring it down to probably like 6. That I feel like, and even maybe as low as 3, as far as I don't think these two teams are so far apart from each other to where you get those games where teams are so similar, it's either going to be a really close ball game or it's going to be a blowout one way.
Well, it's interesting too because you don't have the luxury of giving or taking away a field goal depending on home field advantage. You're playing on a neutral field, so do they then believe? You know how you have that conversation about, well, it's 3.5, so really they just think they're a little bit better because they're getting them at home or whatever.
Yeah.
In this case, 10's 10, I suppose.
Yeah. So they're saying on a neutral site, OU is 10 points better than Texas. With as tough as Texas played LSU and how good their defense is, I can't say that OU's 10 points better than Texas. Now, on Saturday, OU may come and rout them for 40.
But then you have to step back for a second, though, Bill, and think, Okay. Um, Texas was in some ways fortunate to beat Oklahoma State. They were the better team, don't get me wrong, but that game was tight down to the very end. I don't think anybody's too overwhelmed or enamored with who Oklahoma State is. So I'm just wondering, now they played LSU tough. I don't know that LSU's played anybody but Texas that's really, really good yet, though. And if that's the case, I don't know how good Texas is, and I'm not sure I know how good OU is. That's why I just think the point spreads just scare you to death, no matter what they are. I actually, Bill, would have thought about 6.5 points.
Right.
Would have been what I would have thought. So when it was 10, I almost went, oh my gosh, if I had any money, I'd go bet it on Texas, just because 10 seems like so much. But this could be, what is this, the 54-10 game? I mean, you don't know. You just don't know. There's no way I thought Texas was going to beat OU last year. It just didn't look like a setup for that.
Right.
What do I know?
I don't think it happens this year either. I mean, this year. Hurts brings a different mentality, and I think it's a different mentality not only to the players but also to Lincoln Riley as far as how he's approaching games. I think because Riley was never with Saban, of how that walkthrough goes year or week after week with Saban, that mentality I feel has kind of carried over, at least offensively. Defensively, they play tougher and they swarm a lot better. There's holes, there's gaps, and there's always going to be holes and gaps. I think it was a real eye-opener whenever, was it Motley that came out? I think it was Motley that came out and goes, well, we finally know where to line up.
Yeah.
What does that say about Stoops, defensive coordinator? What were they doing? Just go stand out there somewhere and just go get the ball.
Well, one of the things I've heard multiple sources talk about the fact that it was too complicated. There was too many reads to be made and not enough reacting. And you know, Bill talking about this game coming up, and I hate the whole 11 o'clock argument. I'm not even talking about the OU Texas game. I'm talking about whether or not you're ready to play at 11 when it's 11 on the other side of the field as well, and all of that. The one thing that I thought OU did a better job of the second time they played Texas was they were not mistaken in thinking that Texas wasn't going to come out and try to beat their brains out. Because in the first game, I'm not sure OU was prepared for the physicality that Texas brought to them. The difference this time around is they proved that they were prepared in the conference championship game last year, even though they still had a defense that was horrendous. I have a hard time believing that Alex Grinch is not going to have their defense, no matter how great or not great they are. I gotta believe they'll be prepared to play on Saturday morning.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't know that times of games alter how they play, unless you do, like, say you're Oklahoma and you go play Oregon and you got to play one of those weird 10 o'clock games or something.
No,
like that.
I don't think it should either. The reason I brought it up is because I've heard a bunch of excuses coming out of Oklahoma State this week about not being ready to play at 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
and it's all a bunch of steaming pile of Sam Mays.
Well, and it's if that's why you're not getting ready to play, what time do they get up and practice?
Well, they get
just in general. Like, I mean, it's got to be 5 to 6 a.m. on some days.
In most cases, yeah. If nothing but getting up and stretching out, and
but you're not ready to play at 11, then
right.
there's something wrong with your organization as a whole, not
yeah.
Just
and all I'm saying is, last year in that Cotton Bowl game, if you want to try to make a comparison to what's coming this year, the OU's defense was Texas was dragging guys down the field and all of that.
Yeah.
And I just have a hard time believing that you're going to have some locker room issue where a defensive player leaves the locker room at halftime or any of that kind of bovine scatology that went on last time around. I think they'll be
Oh, you're just
ready
horsing
to
around
play.
over there.
It's Jello. It's my Jello moment.
So, okay, if we were to break down this game, would you call Hurd and Ellinger a wash?
No,
No?
no.
Who's better?
Jalen Hurts is head and shoulders better.
You would say I would argue that the game plan for both is the exact same. Keep them in the pocket, make them beat you with their arm.
I think that's certainly the case with Ellinger, if that can be done. I just from a big play standpoint, from I wonder if that's
Our show's starting up again.
Al Cowling in his car on the 405 with his buddy hiding in the back seat or something. Hopefully they stop him in time. But no, I mean,
So you
I don't think he has the same big play ability that Jalen has. Let's put it that way.
I would say he does. I don't think he has the big play players around him like Hurts has.
I think Jalen Hurts can break coverage and get downfield and be a lot more efficient than Ellinger will be. I think he can get caught from behind. I'm not sure Jalen can.
So we'll give the edge to the Sooners at quarterback. Wide receivers, I think it's all day the Sooners. Especially, we talked about CeeDee Lamb a little bit earlier this year about, where's CeeDee Lamb? It seems like Rambo's the go-to guy now. And, all of a sudden CeeDee Lamb's like, I listened to your podcast and I'm going to shut you guys up. Because CeeDee Lamb has been amazing the last couple of weeks.
Did you see this past game, though?
What's that?
OU had 11 guys catch the ball, and no one caught more than 2 passes.
That's some Drew Brees-like stuff.
It was like 14 or something like that. It was ridiculous. That's how that worked out. But, Duvernay's pretty good. But he's one guy. So now I'll go to running backs. Keontae Ingram is their best player. I don't think he's as good as Stevenson or Sermon.
Yeah,
He's been hurt. He's not 100%. I think you give the backfield edge.
Sermon, I still can't figure out Trey Sermon. Me personally, I want this guy to be good so bad, and it just doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like he takes that next step to evolve his game. I feel like he still thinks he's that high school kid that can barrel down every kid whenever he's running. And occasionally it works on a secondary that's really, really small. But when you get guys, and what you'll see Saturday with guys that are really good in Texas, that's not going to work. So Stevenson's impressed me the most out of all the backs, and even Brooks has impressed me. Sermon I get, but it's just sometimes it's a struggle with Sermon.
Yeah, Bill, 13 receivers, no more than 2 catches there. With that was a crazy stat.
Well, so then nobody can pull the Minnesota thing and complain about how they're not getting the ball. Well, everybody else got 2.
Right, yeah. Hurt 16 for 24 and 10 rushes for 56 yards. But, to me, offensively, the edge clearly goes to Oklahoma. Kicking game, though, Bill.
It's got to go to Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the more, and I think because it's just an unknown with OU about who's kicking and if they can kick at all.
Yeah, you got the guy that's not on the team now because of yet another issue with the opposite sex.
So then I would break it down to so if we're giving special teams to Texas, defensively as a whole, and I don't know that we can answer this question.
Yeah, but let me ask you, if based on what your gut tells you and what you've seen so far, and let me throw these numbers at you, because you're thinking I'm leaning one way, but
you're gonna zig the other.
I might zag.
No.
4-1. Texas is 4-1, right? 2-0 in the Big 12. They're averaging 41.8 points a game. They're giving up 33 points a game. They've played a little bit tougher schedule, I think, than Oklahoma has. I think conventional wisdom would lead us both to believe, simply based on last year and a little bit of an unknown this year, that you probably might lean a little bit towards Texas in terms of who has the better defense.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the question becomes, who is better at defending the other team's offense, not
Right.
necessarily what's already happened. And I think Oklahoma is better prepared to defend Texas's offense than Texas is Oklahoma's.
And surprisingly, I would tend to agree. Even though we, at least in my eyes, I don't think we know what Oklahoma's defense is right now. I feel there's a change in attitude with them.
We know what it isn't. It isn't last year's.
Yeah,
whatever that means, it ain't them.
I feel the speed is so much more prevalent on this defense, to where there were times last year where you'd get a cornerback out in space with a running back and he can't wrap up a present out there, and the guy would blow by him. Now you got guys who a lot of fans were yelling at last year, and they're applauding them now for the plays they make. Now, do they still kind of stumble over themselves on some plays? Yeah, they do.
Is that why gift bags sell so well down in Norman?
Yes.
It's hard to wrap them up.
As long as they're in crimson and cream, they sell.
Gift bags.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So I like the attitude that this defense has. I still think they could get a little bit more pressure, whether that be corner blitzing or linebacker blitzing. I don't know that their line is as strong as we've ever seen it before, because even when they've been bad, they've normally had a really good defensive line.
Although Gallimore, I think, has really started to come into his own.
I would say maybe he's the one exception to that. Linebackers, I think.
Is Murray healthy? We don't know.
Yeah.
Do we know yet? Is he okay from the other day?
I don't know. Murray, I mean, that collection of linebackers has been playing a lot better from years past. And secondary, I would say that maybe have been the best part of their defense on how well they've been able to cover. Now, again, I do say there have been some gaffes in there, but you look at where you would have had Norwood, who goes down with the injury for the season, and they've kind of filled in some spots and played pretty well.
Do you think, Bill, to some degree, the success, if you will, or the perceived success, and I'm saying that as real, I mean, but
Right.
At this point, that's what we have, of the linebackers in the secondary, could also be attributed to the fact that you most likely have a defensive front now that at the very least isn't getting misassignments.
Right.
So there's more opportunities for a linebacker to get a shot on a running back than in the past. And if you're able to stay home and manage the gaps and keep the quarterback in the pocket, and not allow him to get out and roam free, are you limiting the amount of time he has to throw downfield? And is everything predicated to some degree on the fact that you've got a better disciplined defensive front?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you've got defensive linemen that know their assignment, so whether that be we're playing a running quarterback this weekend, we don't want to rush upfield. You stop. If you can't get to the guy, you stop and you just hand fight all day long and keep him in the pocket.
And then get your hands up. And
trust me, that's a tough lesson to learn, even for NFL players, that, hey, maybe we shouldn't blow by Lamar Jackson. Maybe we should just keep him on the side and keep him in the pocket and have him hurt us with his arm, because that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Or we're going to be on ESPN looking like a highlight because he broke my ankles at the 2-yard line.
Well, I'll tell you what, OSU, on the first touchdown that Texas Tech scored, Jet Duffy, he had like 3rd and long, and OSU runs a safety blitz, and the guy all you've got to do is keep him in front and bring him down. Duffy sidesteps the safety blitz and then runs into the end zone.
So all he had to do was keep his enemy closer?
That's it.
All right.
Just like we have.
I say the last thing I'll say about this game, I think a lot will be known on how this game's going to go by the first drive for OU. How Jalen Hurts comes out, and if he marches down the field with somewhat ease, Texas is in for a long day.
Well, okay. I mean, that game last year went back and forth. A big lead, then it went away. I mean, I just I've watched so many of these, and every time
Right.
I think I know what's going to happen, I have no clue. I sound like Mac Brown.
I have no clue. We just go. I just got out coached.
Yeah, let me answer that one for Chris.
All right. Oh,
But what we're going to do those picks, we're going to probably lean on that pretty quickly, aren't we?
I would.
That's one of them.
I
by
would
the
say
way.
so. Yeah.
All right. And we're going to talk about the crossover radio teams, what they did, what they're fixing to do.
Excessive celebration on crossover sports, reminding you to keep your enemies closer, but not as close as that app.